switching from the first ever number 150 best to the current number 1 11 Madison Park. Let's give this big applause to Daniel Humm and Will Guidara.
Thank you guys so much. Before we get started, 7 years ago was the first time that we went to London. It was the first year we were on the list. That year we were number 50. That was the first year that Noma was number 1. And I remember when the two of us walked into that room, we couldn't believe that we were in the same room with these guys. And now we're on the same stage with them, and it's just the best. And we just want to thank you guys for inspiring us. This year marks the 11th year that Daniel and I have been together at 11 Madison Park. And it's been quite a year for us. A bit poetic, really, that exactly 11 years into our time at that restaurant, so many exciting things are happening. We just signed a new lease at the restaurant for 20 years during a time that so many restaurants in New York are closing because rent is hiked up way too high. Because we're going to be there for such a long time, we chose to reinvest, and we're currently going through a big renovation, literally tearing the entire thing down, rebuilding it, which is scary. We don't want to mess it up now, but really exciting because we know it's time. And because we're going to be closed for so long, we needed to figure out a way to hold on to our team. And so we are doing right now, as all New Yorkers do, when we moved to the Hamptons, to the beach for the summer, where we're running a place called EMP Summer House, which is our pop-up, which will be there for about 2 months. Perhaps most notably was the affirmation we received in Melbourne earlier this year from the world's 50 best. And it's times like this, during years like this, that we pause to reflect on the road that got us to where we are. And so today's theme is actually really appropriate for the two of us, because as we plan for the next chapter of 11 Madison Park, which is our future, we have found ourselves looking back at these past few years, trying to, as effectively as we can, articulate the philosophies of our restaurant so that as we evolve, we don't lose touch with what got us here in the first place. And this is what we've come up with. See, as we think about the future of our restaurant, for us, it starts with first remembering to look back. Remembering where fine dining started, where our craft was born. In this age of restaurants, there has been so much beautiful evolution. It is such an exciting time. But sometimes it feels like the creative process has taken us so far that we run the risk of losing touch with the very reason that fine dining restaurants exist. Hence the title of our talk. We believe that moving forward into the future requires first going back to the basics, about refocusing on the graciousness of our service and on the deliciousness of our food. This has been our mission at 11 Madison Park over the past few years. And truly, for both of us, it started with our reacting to some of the things that were going on in the world around us.
For me, it started when I was at a restaurant about 7 years ago, and I picked up the menu to figure out what I wanted to order. On the bottom of the menu, there was a note: "We do not make substitutions. If you're allergic to an ingredient in one of the dishes, order something else. If you can't find anything you like, go somewhere else." It was crazy to me. Not very friendly, not very hospitable. Now, I can relate as a chef to the idea that you want the guests to experience your food exactly as you intended. As chefs, we pour ourselves into creating these dishes. It can be difficult when people start removing ingredients that we feel are essential to them. As a chef, I don't want to be all things to all people. I do not believe that the guest is always right. I want to have a point of view. But reading that line on the bottom of the menu was a revelation. For me, that line of thinking had gone too far. Because here is the thing. As important as it is for my dish to taste exactly the way I want it to taste it, I need to remember that the experience is not all about me. Fine dining restaurants were created to be these luxurious and magical escapes where people came to be cared for and to be served. They may come to 11 Madison Park to taste my foods, but the restaurant isn't meant to be a temple. It's meant to be their happy place, a place where genuine human connection can take place. Fine dining is meant to be a conversation. A month after eating at that restaurant, we made a big change at 11 Madison Park. At the beginning of your meal, you're greeted with a question. Are there any ingredients you're allergic to? Anything you don't like? Or is there anything you're not in the mood of eating tonight? And then we altered the menu accordingly. And you know what? We in the kitchen appreciate the challenge to make every dish just as incredible as it would have been otherwise. In fact, I think it's made us better cooks. For me, this is what a good restaurant is. It's finding the yes. It requires being flexible, it requires listening to your guests, and it requires being gracious. The next moment in my evolution as a chef came a couple years later, after reading a magazine interview with a young chef who was just coming onto the scene. He was a chef that was clearly inspired by the restaurants on this list, one that was working hard to make his impact, but so young that he didn't have yet the benefit of all the years in the kitchen to find himself, to truly mature as a chef. In this interview, there was a line that really affected me. It said something to the effect of the following: I want my food to be challenging, to make you think, to catch you off guard. To me, those things are much more important than the food tasting good. I couldn't believe it. I get it. I want my food to be many things, for it to be beautiful, for it to be creative, for it to be intentional. But it can never be any of those if it affects how delicious a dish is. Again, fine dining is about creating this magical place. And for me, in a magical place, food tastes good. Reading that article, I almost felt like as if we chefs who have achieved critical acclaim, we were failing in mentoring the next generation. Yes, it is good to cook with your mind, but we need to also cook from our hearts. Food should make you think. Cooking can be art. But come on, if you don't want your food to taste good, be a painter. Make a painting, put it onto the wall. People can look at it, people can think about it, but no one has to eat it. So I made sure to start talking about deliciousness in my kitchens with all of my cooks every day. As obvious as it might seem, apparently it wasn't obvious enough. Because making delicious food isn't something that just anyone can do. It needs to be taught, it needs to be inspired, people need to pursue it, they need to work at it. But for me, deliciousness is the most important thing in the kitchen.
So there you have it. There's some big things being discussed on the stage today. When we talk about the future at the stage we're in, we're thinking about the future of our restaurant. And nothing we're saying is all that groundbreaking, but yet at the same time, it is. We are here saying that you can't talk about the future of anything without first acknowledging its past. That every once in a while, as an industry evolves, it needs to go back to its basics. And for us, in fine dining, that is the magic. It's the deliciousness of the food, the graciousness of the service. There are so many things that we try to accomplish every single night at 11 Madison Park, but those two will always be the most important. Really simple, but really hard. But here's our last point, and what we believe is truly the reason that we have been so blessed to be up on the stage today. Note that there's two of us here. We think that delicious food without gracious service just isn't good enough. We also think that gracious service in the absence of delicious food, that doesn't work either. We think that you need to excel in the kitchen and in the dining room. That the relationship between those two things, that our relationship is truly the reason for our success and the one that will carry us forward successfully into the future. Thank you very much.